Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And remember that we are all together in this. We are one with the universe. We are all members of the League of Like Minded Beings. We are all members of the Soul Tribe, if we so choose, and that we are all part of this quantum universe, whether we can understand it, accept it, or not. So earlier I did a video and the comments were disabled, and then the live stream was disabled. And so I was looking around to see what was going on, and my connection's okay and all that. So it was just interesting. So this is more or less just a test to see if I could actually do a live stream or if I was snubbed. And I was thinking, but what did I say? That it could have been was interrupted. And I've never seen the comments disabled before. So it's like, did we hit some kind of algorithm somehow, with whatever the discussion was? So I kind of want to summarize briefly what I talked about in the previous video today, a few hours ago, in that, regardless of whatever goes on, we should always have a plan for our life, a life plan, a spiritual plan. And that regardless of what goes on around us, that plan should be to survive, whether in this 3D reality or whether we're to do the best that we can spiritually and mentally and that type of thing, so that um, we can go on into the next dimension and with a positive attitude and etc. So, but the idea that I know that I didn't say anything to like want to start a riot. I'm far from wanting that, and said I hope that there was no bloodshed. I hope that no one got hurt, and I continue to pray for that. But this idea, though, that whoever they are, they want to control us. So it's like it was just an interesting thing today, me of all people, that they would interrupt the chat and, basically shut down the channel well during a live stream. So I'm just this old hippie dude hermit that lives down here in the swamp. And what have I got to say that would ever, try to disrupt, you know, um, whatever's going on? I'm trying to help people to stand within themselves, to stand strong with who they are, and, and to survive whatever happens. I mean, if it's the greatest thing in the world and aliens come and we still have to learn how to survive in the new paradigm. Some people might not be able to understand that and might drive them crazy. So different people understand things on different levels. It's all a matter of perspective, our perspective from where we live or where we stand or how we feel or how we grew up. But in this time of change, and you can bet your bottom dollar that there is change here a coming. What it is and how it is, don't have a clue. I really don't. But I do know that within my own self and my own faith is to stand tall with who I am. Continue gardening, continue researching other things, continue modifying and being the best person that I can be, to keep finding ways to reach people who need a little bit of spiritual guidance here and there, just to be sure of themselves. um, I preach no cult. There is no religion. It is all about spiritualism. It is all about who we are as individuals, our spirit, our soul, our intellect. That is us. And we need to learn how to be us the best that we can. And during that time, as we each of us learn in our own ways, we also have to learn how to survive. We have to feed our spirit, we have to feed our bodies, we have to, wherever we live, we have to navigate the everyday, things in life. I mean, I live out here in the country, so there isn't much traffic. But if I live near a town or in a city or something like that, there's traffic all the time, or more or less. So, since I'm not near the traffic, I don't have to worry about getting run over, you know what I mean? But if you live in a town or a city or a neighborhood where there's a lot of traffic, you would have that risk of getting run over, hit by a vehicle, something like that. Your chances go up. So, but any way that you are, learn how to stand up tall, be who you are, and, look both ways before you move ahead, not just on the street, but on this path of life. Look both ways and check your rearview mirror and see if there's some great big, giant semi coming up behind you fixing to flatten you. So pay attention to what's going on around you. That's survival. That's all. Does it mean that you have to dig a bunker? Maybe, but that's not what I'm talking about. We learn to survive every day, by avoiding traffic jams, by, doing this or that or the choices that we make. So make good choices, keep your head about you. And this video was a test to see if I could actually get back on without being, of course, I don't see anybody in the chat, but it only shows one person on. And blessings and peace be upon you, my brothers and sisters, period. Peace be upon you all. That's my prayer. And if that's supposed to be against the rules or against the laws or whatever, well, I'm still going to continue to pray that. I'm still going to pray for peace be upon you all, brothers and sisters, and anybody else in between. And I mean that graciously and with honor. So I think the things to plan ahead for right now is to learn how to honor ourselves, to honor the Creator, to honor Mother Earth, to honor the universe. And that means, lie, cheat, steal, it means being yourself an honorable person. And as a plan for the future, I think we should all plan to be the most honorable that we possibly can. That should be a very simple plan without anybody getting their panties in a wad or, we're trying to overthrow anything or take over. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with it. Because in the end, who's in charge when I die or pass away or whatever? It's going to be me and the spirit, me and the Creator, and not anybody else on this planet. So the best thing that we can do is be the best that we can be. And so the end run about this then is if we are honorable to ourselves, if we are honorable to our ancestors, if we are honorable to other people, whether we like them or not, that's a really good plan. That's a really good, solid, simple plan. And you say, well, what's that got to do with every day? Hey, Robert, how are you? Hope you're staying warm up yonder. It's a warm day today. They're spraying clouds in the sky today and keeping my passive solar from getting more active. And by the way, I was on earlier, Robert, and I was getting ready to wrap it up, but then the chat was disabled, and then my channel disabled, and it went offline. So interesting. And I didn't think I was talking too outrageously about anybody. We didn't mention anybody's name or anything like that, but channel went down, So I haven't checked to see if I have any strikes against me. I was talking about getting, the needle, and that people shouldn't do it, but that it's up to them. And I was criticizing folks who were giving the needle, that if they understood that by their actions they could be affecting someone's health with possibly even death, if we take that personally, then maybe they better hire a robot to do that. But anyway, So I just wanted to come back on here, and it's good to see you're still around, Robert. Um, I found some other native books, by the way, as I was looking for some literature upstairs. Thank God I started cleaning up there, by the way. But anyway, that are similar, but not the one that you sent me, by the way. But anyway, um, this was more honestly to test and see whether or not YouTube would allow me to do another video, and just to kind of sort of sum up what I was trying to explain earlier, and that is, regardless of what goes on or whether we want to continue to have hopium or not, or these people lied to us. Come on, we've been lied to from both sides for a long time. Is anybody really surprised now? Personally, I kind of sort of am, but it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and I ain't heard no music in the background. You know what I'm saying? But am I filled with hopium? There. To me, there's always hope. To me, there's always a way to get around something, or to whatever. And of all the things I've learned about living down here in the swamp and being out here in with nature all the times is, um, you have to learn to adapt. And if you don't adapt to your surroundings, you're screwed. You can be hurt big time. The other day, me and Duggar was outside, and I heard this snap, and tree limbs were falling out of the sky. Now, thank God they weren't very big, but um, it's like limbs falling on my head right outside the house, and I got hit by a big tree limb years ago. Is the reason I bring this up. There is hope, and no hope is disappointing. Yep. Um, and I just know that I'm going to continue to be the best person I can be. My hope is in continuing to honor the Creator. My hope is to continue to learn from the universe. My hope is to continue speaking with good people like Robert V. And, in the last video, there were 24, 25 people on at one time. And Robert, I was surprised. I mean, he's like, I just popped in and did this video, and there's 24 people, and then it got shut off, and I was like, no, that's just damned interesting. Am I that much of an interesting person that they should shut down the chat of people discussing amongst themselves? So I continue to hope and pray that that's not going to become the norm. But in my discussion about survival and so forth, it was interesting that we all got shut off at the same time. Those of us were coming together just to sort of commiserate with one another and continue to send prayers and love to each other. And then it just, bang, it was gone. So, Bob, talk to your cousin out there and let him know that we're really not a threat. Of course, you don't write the algorithms, they do. So you have to continue life and living no matter what is happening. Absolutely. If it's raining, sleeting, snowing, or, if it's hotter than hell and dry, there's many times here has been serious drought for several years. We barely got any rain. I mean, like 6 inches in one whole year, and we got 6 inches of rain in the last month and a half. So things have not been normal, but now they're sort of going back to normal. Well, there's water in the backyard. Um, you know, uh, but what is normal? The cold weather has gotten colder, but fruit, a lot of fruit, excuse me, got the hiccups. A lot of fruit trees have to have so many cold days. And I've got fruit trees around here, and it hasn't been cold enough for there to be any pears on the tree. For there, I've got a little stand of plums, and no plums, no blooms, because it hasn't been cold enough to set that in motion with the trees and stuff down here. Some of the peach trees and things that haven't bloomed properly, and the peach orchards have been down, which they grow a small peach down here in the South, and used to be big business. I used to go do puppet shows and storytelling, at a peach festival in a couple of the towns around here, and they just don't have them anymore because there's no peaches. It's like, what? So why do a festival if there's no peaches? So it's just been interesting. And people say we're in the end times. Well, remember that anything that ends, there's something begins. So there are some folks, and I got to say that some of the folks that I thought might go to the doom and gloom have kind of stayed out of it, at least for today. And I'm proud of them for that, because it's not about doom and gloom, but it is about adapting. It is about whatever change it is, we have to adapt to it. And the bottom line is survive. That was one of the things that, my title for the last video was "The Plan Now?" ? Survive. That was the title. So it has nothing to do with any party or people or anything, but it got interrupted and the chat was stopped, and and I went offline. So, but anyway, this is just to come back and say thank you all. Keep love in your heart. I pulled some cards last night. I did an epic 5-hour kind of thing. And one of the cards that I pulled was the hummingbird. And hummingbird is about joy. And regardless of what goes on around us, we have to keep joy in our heart. And, joy might be a little big to actually put in anyway. Happiness, So regardless of what's going on, if everything is so morbid and disgusting, then we have no joy in our life. So items have things in the universe and, current situations have a tendency to want our hearts to close up. And we shouldn't allow that, Now, should we be open to all these things? And well, here's the really bad contrary part of this thing to some folks is that regardless of who's doing the sinning, if you're a Christian, you must believe that as Jesus was being nailed to the cross, he said, "Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do." So we have to consider that there are people in this world who do things, and they may think they're on the right side. They may think, so carrying anger forward or trying to project anger or malice or anything upon these people, they honestly believe they're in the right. And we have to respect them for that. We have to honor them for their belief, whether we believe in it or not. But to want to go to war with them or anything like that, that should not be in our vocabulary. Now, what I mean by war is like, stabbing, killing, shooting. Now, can we have a war with words? We can. But how we speak those words, in the context that we speak them, our tone of voice, and are these people so infiltrated with other ideas and things that they will actually refuse to even hear us? And so my prayer will continue that these people will at least open their hearts to allow joy to come into them, because for the last so many years, everybody's had nothing but hate towards this group, hate towards that group. And if anything that showed up in the cards last night, a couple of things, but today in my meditations and musings and things, I realized that we have to keep our hearts open, regardless of what goes on, because as Jesus is being nailed to the cross, he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." So we have to have that kind of forgiveness in our hearts. Maybe this is a lesson for us or some folk to be able to have that forgiveness in their heart. For all the Christians who talk about being Christian, do they actually have forgiveness in their heart? Can they produce the forgiveness because they've been hurt so badly at the moment? Their hopes and dreams have been dashed to the ground for the moment. So can they forgive? Or is this, is this lesson is to like, how much faith do you really have? Well, I'm a Christian. I do this. And okay, but people's faith at the moment are being shaken. So is this a cosmic test for people to actually find out whether or not they truly believe in what they have been self preaching and belong to and so forth? I'm not trying to be nasty now, but the truth hurts, and telling the truth to yourself and admitting the truth to yourself about your beliefs and what you believe. So if you really believed that, Jesus could forgive the people nailing him to the cross, then we should be able to figure out how to forgive these folks, right? And learn how to deal with them calmly and in a manner that um, it doesn't mean that we give up. It just means we need to shift gears and change our tactics. Screaming, hollering, and shaking our fist hasn't done a damn bit of good up to this point. So our tactics should just adapt. What's the plan now? To figure out how to get to some of these people, even if it takes another 4 years, to try to show them and help them to understand that some of these things that are being proposed, and I mean across the board, across the planet, are is against humanity. Okay, and we honestly need to look at that and say, well, wait a minute. Old Dave can survive down here in the swamp pretty fair, and gets along all right, even at my old age. But other folk who live in cities and stuff, they're under a control that because of where they live, they can't help that. They may be stuck in a situation. I can be in the woods, and I have been, where, I got hurt and ended up 3 days on the river when I was only planning there to be a few hours. I survived it. I got through it all. Um, and so I've been in some really hairy situations with just me and my dog and have managed to get out of them. But you have to adapt and you have to just not give up. So is that about hopium? Maybe. But Robert, as you said, I have hope about a lot of things every day, despite what other people may think or believe. I still have hope for humanity. I still have hope that people will understand more about their own spirituality and will become more open to the universe. I continue to have hope for that. What's wrong with that? Continue to pray that people will get a plan in their life if they don't have one. And as I was going to try to finish up the last video, and here I am 23 minutes into this one, I was sitting here watching the floor earlier and thinking, gosh, I've already, swept the floor twice. And there is an ant crawling around on the floor. So I'm like, now where'd the ant come from? I mean, seriously, there's concrete all around here. I've been, killing the mounds outside, and usually there's a trail. It's sealed up along the bottom of the house. Where is this ant coming from, right? And he's wandering around the floor, and I'm sitting here sort of mesmerized by this ant. And I've talked about this. We have to learn to connect with all creatures, great and small, to help ourselves to understand our connection with everything in the universe. And so I'm thinking about this little ant wandering around. I don't know where he went, but I was like, where did he come from? Had to get in the house when, is there another one? Because, sometimes, especially in cold weather, they like to come in my house because it's warmer, you know. So I'm like, I need to nip that in the bud before it gets too far along. But so anyway, but in watching the end, I'm thinking, in this world, there are a lot of people who are much like that wandering ant. They know what they need, or food or whatever. So he's searching the floor and doing things and stuff. And, looking for a morsel that he can take back to the colony, right? Back to the family. So, but he's all by himself wandering around the floor, and he goes this way and he goes over this way and back, doubles back, and then comes back around this way. And it's like just really interesting. And so it was sort of an analogy for me that there are a lot of people sort of wandering around now like this ant, you know. He kind of sort of has a purpose. He knows he's out looking for something, anything. He's back and forth, you know. He's looking for another ant trail. There's all these kind of things that this ant is looking for. But we, as ants on this planet, some folks are just meandered around and back and forth. They don't really have a plan, you know. Now, sometimes I've been down in the woods where I've just meandered around and have found some really interesting things. So sometimes meandering's okay, but do we spend our lives meandering with no official plan? Now, the plan doesn't have to be exceptionally elaborate or anything like that. It can be very simple, very simple. You know, I wish to learn to be an honorable person. I wish to learn how to be more honorable, not only to myself and my ancestors, but the people that I meet and I learn. I wish to become more spiritual and how I can connect. So, and what you do during the day, your day job kind of thing, it can meander around, but do you still have the plan within you? And so, all of the things that I look at my life and say, because I can't talk about anybody else's, and I don't like to, even with their permission. Although I've talked about my granddaughters a few times, shame on me for that, I guess. But um, the idea, though, that um, a simple plan can get you through the hardest of times. When I was stuck on the river, my plan was simple. I had to pull that canoe over some log jams, and I was going to take one log at a time. And if it took me 4 hours to get my canoe and myself and the dog over a log jam, then it was going to take 4 hours. But it wasn't about how fast I could do it or how well I could do it, is whether or not I could do it at all and keep the focus on the simple task. Okay. To get my canoe back over these log jams and to get back to my car, to the truck, so that me and Sasha could have something to eat and drink, because it'd been 3 days. So the idea, though, that you stick together, you stick to that simple plan, and you survive. So nothing complicated, very simple, but it is keeping the faith. That's what it amounts to. Whatever your faith is, and each of us are different. We can have a lot. We have a lot of similar. Say that again 3 times. Similarities. But are you me? No. And I can't be you. It's just not possible. But we can share a lot of similar thoughts and feelings and ideals and ideals and ideas. And that's where the League of Like-Minded Beings come in, because we are a part of this. So let's stay strong in that. Honor our fellow members of the tribe, our fellow members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, our fellow angels. And I say fellow, but I mean male and female, and all are welcome in this. I spoke about an entity that I met 5 or 6 years ago at a petroglyph site in Ohio. And this entity was both male and female, an androgynous soul. And he's this person, I can't say he, although that it seemed more of a male personage that was coming to me versus female. But it was clearly understood that I hate to say it, but this entity was, of I don't want to say both sexes, both essences, both female and male essence, okay, which we all are. And I've been like recontacted after all these years with this essence of the spirit, this entity that I met years ago. And so it's like, so I don't know what this means, only that, I was told years ago, I'll be back. and the entity's back. So, the message that is there is to be calm, stick with my plan of honoring other people, of getting to know other people, of having conversation. And whether you believe me or not, it's about the dialogue. It's about what I can help bring you to feel or think on your own. And you might find that we're similar, parallel, or whatever, or maybe, butt heads and are at odds. That's okay. It's the fact that you're thinking. It's the fact that there is questions being asked. And you know me, I can ask a bunch of weird off the wall stuff. But that's the point. It's not whether you believe me or not, it's whether or not you believe yourself. Because I'm not a cult. I know there are people who will say that I am a spiritual guide. I am a shaman in training. That's who Hawkeye Two Feathers is. And my name, Hawkeye Two Feathers, is the spiritual voice within me versus David Null. We're still the same people, but Hawkeye is the more spiritual of the two of us, the duality, if you will. But it's also the sameness. But anyway, so this message is very simple. Keep the faith. Find a faith if you don't have it. If you're like that ant that was wandering around on my floor, I don't know where he went because I like to follow him back to the nest. How's that little bugger getting in my house? But whether or not you believe in the spirit, whether or not you believe in with your own conviction, and I don't want to tell you how to believe it, but there are suggestions, from not only me, but other people. There are lots of different ways that you can learn to become spiritual. It's what you do with that knowledge, right? So in chatting with some folks the other night, and it came to me, and in looking back over the many years that I've had conversations with people, and people have come to me with spiritual, woes and this and that. And like, Hawkeye, after all the turmoil and everything you've been through, how can you still be positive about things, right? And it's like, look, I've had my ups and downs. I've been in the sewer, literally, but, I've dug a hole 6 foot deep and was lying at the bottom of it going, this can't be it, And through many different things, I've talked about there the other day about Pastor Paul Begley, who has YouTube and whatever. And that I found his channel several years ago when I was really confused. And he talks sense to me in a way that the Bible and so forth, not so much about the apocalyptic stuff, but, he talks about that a little too much. But as far as being, prayerful and wanting people to join in and for them to, to want to be saved, okay. What's wrong with that? I've listened to him today for a little bit. And there are times when I pop in or, I'll catch something later on and go back in and listen for a little bit. And some of the things he tries to be practical and he wants to save souls. Some people say, well, send your donations or whatever. Listen, he'll do a thing or two, but he mostly wants people to wake up for themselves and understand the Lord in whatever way possible. So do I see anything wrong with that? I don't. And I honor people who do that with, to me, is the most of his pure intent, So today, with the inauguration and everything, he was trying to calm people down. It's like, where many of us are disappointed, but God's in control. God has the plan versus anybody else, which is sort of what set me on doing the earlier video about, the plan now, ? Survival. So, but he was sort of talking about it in a spiritual survival, but I agree with that too. We can't let our faith it can be rattled, but we still need to stay strong. And that's what he was telling people. And I was like, how could his message be bad to anybody? He's saying, stay strong, You know, these people might be crazy and wacko to us, but we need to still love them, because that's what, um, Creator, and Jesus said that, we should do. We should love our enemies as ourselves. So we don't have to agree with him and all that kind of good stuff. But anyway, the USA corporation is dead, and Biden not even in charge of his own mind, as you will see. Trump has them all in checkmate. Do not get the jab view vaccine from hell. I agree with you, enlightened one. Dante Centauri, new channel, The Cause. Check out Sananda Galactic Jesus, Holotech channel. Okay. Yeah, enlightened one. I have been, whether you know it or not, they copied one of my videos on Dante's last channel as I spoke about the 72 plus, and I've done a couple of videos on that it's been a few months since I've discussed it. But yeah, I keep up, and there are a lot of people who are like, Dante's full of this and that and the other thing. There's something about some of the things he's talked about that have resonated with me and have woken me up to things. And most of it is still confusing to me. Okay. I'm just let that out. But as far as what I feel in my heart, I know that I'm working for the angel side. That's just all there is to it. I don't have to have a bunch of videos to know that in my heart of hearts, I'm working for the angels. And if that's the Charistus or but I'm working for the angels. I'm not working for the other guys. I know that for certain. I am positive of that and ain't going to work for them, I would rather die. I found you through Dante video of you. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. Then you understand my point of view on this. But there's a lot of stuff that's still confusing to me. I don't get it all, but I understand that there are folks that are working for the cause and the cause of humanity, the cause of righteousness, and I'm working for them people. And regardless of what anybody wants to tell me, do to me, or whatever, I'm still working for them. I've had conversations with people, about my Mother Mary messages and so forth that were brought to me. Project Skyfall's what test? To find out whether or not YouTube would let me say anything else without shutting down my video, because they shut down my previous video project. That's an interesting thing that's hanging back there. It's the wind chimes. But it looks really like 3D, almost like my hand could go through it. That's really strange back there. Hi, Mossy Man. Were you there when they just shut off everything? I mean, I'm looking and I'm watching and trying to answer and have chat, and all of a sudden it said chat disabled, trying to connect, and then it said sorry, and then the channel went down. So I was like, I just went ahead and finished and quit. Yeah, so it did get locked down. Did the video stop or just the chat, if you don't mind my asking? Curious. Yeah, a couple of hours ago, Project. Masabian was there. There were 24 people on my end. It all stopped. Oh, so interesting. It said I was still live, but that the chat had stopped. Yeah, buffering, and then chat stayed for a bit till no connection. Then the video closed. Well, I closed the video because I wasn't sure what was going on, so I just did a quick prayer and ended it, without any other comment. But so this is a test to see whether or not they wanted to shut my channel down. It's like, wait a minute, hey Lori, how are you? So we was talking about getting jabbed, and people were commenting about nurses and some folks that had been jabbed, and we know what that means. I'm going to poke you with my finger. And all of a sudden everything went, yep, a lot of keywords. Yep, I agree with you, Ray. And so it was kind of sort of my point, although I didn't put anything in the title, or, I wasn't I didn't use anybody's name, or I didn't discuss any particular parties. I just said them or they, So, but even with that said, it was interesting that it was like, little old Hawkeye down here in the swamp is talking shit, and they had to interrupt us. So Maximus interruptus climacticus. Anyway, weird thoughts in my head. But so I hadn't really planned on coming and being on a long time here, but me, I get to chatting and they fill my head full of nonsense sometimes. And I just have to rattle on. But I'm doing this in support of folks. I feel like I've been lied to, but I've also been told today to have faith. In what? They just say have faith. Well, I got to have faith every day, regardless of who's in charge of what's going on. So in that, we should all have, maintain our own faith, because whatever them idiots do on the outside to us, we still have to have our own plan and be able to adapt, sometimes at a moment's notice. So, having the chat disconnect and all that was just like really strange timing. You know what I mean? And I was going to end the video in another couple of minutes anyway. I wanted to talk about the wandering ant thing that I was noticing. And for those folks that in this reality, and right now, there's a lot of reason to wander around like an ant looking for whatever it is that you're looking for. And I don't mean that in a bad respect. I mean, like I said, there are times I go in the backwoods and just wandering around and I stumble upon things literally. I've found deer antler and turtle carcasses and, stuff. So meandering and wandering isn't a bad thing. But if that's all you do is wander and meander around in life, or spiritually, mentally, etc., then it may be time to, come up with just a simple plan, because sometimes that's very efficient. So anyway, this test was to see whether or not I could still do a live stream. And Ray, I try not to see it as evil doing it and see it as divine either way. Doesn't always work in my mind, but I've had bad things happen that turned out to be blessings. Alan Watts farmer story. I know you know that. Just sharing. That's okay, Ray. I get it. Yep. There were my incident on the river for 3 days. I learned a lot. It was hard. It was horrible. I really don't want to do that again. But I realized that if it ever happened, with a little bit of luck and some sanity, I could survive it again. So, surviving a broken leg when I was a kid and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I've had some very traumatic things happen. And were they lessons? Did I plan on them? Was I in the right place at the wrong time? He was sitting in the right place. They went in the wrong time. Anyway, who's Dr. Blues player? Anyway, I got songs in my head. Yes, I'm not one for structure, but you definitely need some level of it because we are creatures of habit. And routine is just easier on some level because neural pathways, the way to our brain works, etc. Yep. And, some people are OCD about it, but as I was talking about, that plan can be so simple. And for me, it's that I wish to continue to learn how to honor the universe and all beings in it. Well, what does that mean? Well, I had a 30-minute discussion earlier, but to the point, though, it boils down to a simple thing. I want to be able to learn to exercise the one rule, the universal law, to do no harm. So, that includes hating my enemy, because that's, I hate these people for what they do. Wait a minute now. So in my personal shaman quest, test. The test is, how much can I put up with? How much can be put upon me? And will I waver in my faith? Will I lose honor? Will I lose self-respect? You know, will I give in to things simply because it's easier, or will I accept death over the alternative? And my 3 days on the river kind of proved that I don't accept the death. I'm going to fight and struggle and work towards, just staying alive, just surviving, very simple. Now, how we can do it, some people could survive in a high rise with $1 million. Okay. And some people like me, I live down here, and people, talk about, well, how much my house isn't worth. They say my house is only worth $8,000. And they say it was built in 1965. There wasn't anything here in 1965. This was a wheat field, okay? It was 1985, but I digress. So the lies and things, and, for all the, well, his house has got plywood on it, and his house is this. And I was looking at the local thing about, so I'm like, yeah, but my house keeps me warm. It's got a leak, but, the roof's been on there for 30 years. It's about time. And I had planned on having the tin replaced by now, but I got hurt, I got old, and it's, hasn't been replaced yet. But I ain't dead yet either. So, but this idea though, that somehow, what it's worth, so to me, I wouldn't sell out for nothing, because it's worth a lot to me, all the windows and all the sunlight and on my property, but to somebody else, the value of my home ain't worth nothing. I could buy 3 cars. Oh, well, wait, for quote, my house isn't even worth a decent used car, okay, in these other people's perspective. But I wouldn't trade my house for a brand new Maserati. So, but what is value? What is worth? So, in my understanding of the universe and trying to continue to understand it, what I consider as being of value, and what other people consider of being of value, and to what other people consider as being honorable to that value. And the value to me is Mother Earth. The value is working with nature. That's my opinion. But other people will live in a high rise and do this thing and have very little to do with Mother Nature. If that's their perspective, God bless them. But for me, I want to learn more natural things, the natural of things. Other people, they have their, I hate to say agenda, but let's call it, they have their own plan, right? So, but whatever that is, I hope that they stick to it. I hope they're honorable with it. Yeah, as far as the brain goes, I realized for myself that when I didn't have Duggar several months ago, he makes me get up and feed him and go outside and play when I don't necessarily feel like it. So I could curse him and, oh, Duggar, not now, blah, 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 which I still do. But in the end result is, I might say not now, but 5 or 10 minutes later, I'm up and we go out or something like that. So, but anyway, having something that it's not a ritual, but it is a routine. And it's not like, okay, it's 9 o'clock, Duggar needs to go out, or it's, 10:30 and no, but it is that in the natural way of things from a, Native American's point of view, when time isn't so matter of fact with a watch, that it's time for Duggar to go out, which a lot of times means I got to go pee too, so he goes out, I go out, we both pee or whatever, get a breath of sunshine or go out in the middle of the night and see how the stars are looking. and take a deep breath of the universe. And, but if he wasn't here, then I'm left to my own devices. And sometimes those devices are, well, I don't feel like going out when Duggar makes me go out. So in a way, he's much of a blessing as much as no, I didn't go out to the woods yet. I did go outside, and me and Duggar were doing some things, but I was trying to check my internet connection and a couple of things, and then I got back on, and here I am. So, but many are homeless, and home is what you make of it and where the heart is. Exactly, Enlightened One. We are here because you are a very smart and caring, lovable human being, and obviously you wish the best for Earth and all life on it. Thank you, Enlightened One. And that is truly, that's why I'm here. And I want everybody to find their own way. And if I can be a part of that stimulus package, if you will, that's why I'm here. You're creating your own values, not the values set by external measurements. Be aware of it, obviously, but don't let it define the value that you create and put on the energy in your life. So, right. And I mean, the things that I valued 20 years ago and the things that I, fought for, survived for, don't mean shit right now. I was doing this for my family, and I was going to do that, and I was doing this for this reason. And said and done, after all was done, none of that, it was in my head, but none of that mattered, because as I got to here in the future, those things I planned in the past, some of them, were okay. I'm still working on some. I'm still here. The house is still here after tornadoes and hurricanes and storms. So this pitiful little $8,000 home that they say it's all it's worth, it's like, but it's my home. And other people go, they only appraised your house at 8,000. Seriously? Yep. They could at least pushed it to 10 grand. It costs that much just for materials. But anyway, so it's not about the value, although that's what people want to look in. Well, what's the value of this thing? The value is I live on the edge of the woods. I live naturally as much as I can, and that's by choice. So there was one appraiser that was here one time a few years back, and she told me, I said, so what do you think of my house? She said, I think it would look better if it was bulldozed. And I went, what? She goes, yeah, your house would look much better if it was bulldozed to the ground. And I was like, thank you very much. Adios. And we haven't talked since, actually. So, Mossman, thank you. Just shared my experience and thoughts. That's why we're here. Y'all share with each other. That was one of the things I was like, the chat got shut off first in the previous video, and I did about 53 minutes. So this is the test. Can I do 53 minutes before they shut us down again? Bob, we love you. Here's some coffee. And anyway, I don't want to keep you all, but I just wanted to come back and just kind of like, finish up a little bit. And I have hope. Now, whether or not it's hope for all these other things, that's not the point. I have hope for tomorrow, just for myself. I have hope that I will continue learning, that we all will continue to share experiences with one another, that we will keep the faith, whatever that faith is, the faith in the Creator, the faith in the universe, and because that's where we're all going when we get done on this planet, most of us anyway. So, Bob, we say thank you to YouTube who shut us down. I can't tell. Last time we got a visit, interrupted my YouTube, and I was like, it was weird because I don't usually get visitors, right? But it's my good friend Rob, and he stops in to say hi and share messages with me, and he's the person that he probably won't ever do a YouTube video, but he's the person I'm probably going to leave my property to. And he's like, he's all about the money and how much value. And I said, listen, the value in me, making an agreement with you and you taking over the property when I'm gone, because my family does not want it. It's just obvious. He lives down the road, grew up here. He's 30 some plus years old. and he loves it down here. It's got access to the river, and very few places along here have that access to the river. So I'm like, now selling it to anybody means that I would have to move. By allowing him to, co-own this place with me, if anything really happens to me, because his grandmother just died, and he took care of her right to the very end and whatever they could. So I was like, what do I want out of this deal? If something really bad happens to me, I want you to bury me. You know, that's what I want. But what about the property? What about the value? Don't you want your kids or your grandkids to have it? Why? They don't call me. They don't care what happens with grandpa. So why should they get anything out of this deal? You come and visit me. You help me out. You're here even when I don't ask you, you show up to check on me. My daughter calls me once a month and goes, well, I've been really busy and I'm doing this thing and that thing. And you ain't got 2 minutes to call. Pop, I was thinking about you. Love you. I hope you're doing okay. Talk to you later. Bye. No, she can talk to everybody else on the moon. But a 2-minute phone call to Pops, out of the question. So why should they get anything out of this deal? I worked my ass off over the years to maintain the house and the property and so forth. And to him, it's like, well, I want you to get something out of this. And I'm like, I am. You're coming over. You got 2 beautiful daughters and a beautiful son, and your family. You're my new family, And I would rather just give it to you without any money exchange, simply because you would want to take care of it. You see the value of it as it is. And to me, so is my family going to get any of this? Probably not. Not to be rude. And he's like, well, if somebody shows up, I'll be glad to, send them payments or something. I was like, okay. But the idea is, so they show up after I'm dead and want to lay claim to it. Nah. Show up now and lay claim. But, and I've kept saying let's talk, let's chat. So, but the value of things to me, see, it's not about money. It's about who values the same things that I do. He values the property for the land just as it is, because it's a swamp, because it's on without a bunch of changing them. Well, I'm going to mow everything down. I'm going to do this. Nah. So that's where I think our future lies, is with people that we can honestly, with our open hearts, trust. And so the card that I pulled last night, the hummingbird, is about keeping our heart open to joy. And his family and who he is, he brings joy to my life. Where I love my daughter, I love my son, who hasn't spoken to me in 10 years. Lives in the same county that I do, so it's not like he's in another state or planet, but might as well be. So the family that I have are the family that I connect with now. And there have been people before, they leave their money and all their belongings to the maid or something like that. Or, people say, well, how can they do that? We're going to contest the will. Maybe at the end, the person who left it to this quote who is this person, saw that they valued something. They saw something and said, all these other people don't give a crap about me, but I see where you do. And where it has meant most in my life, you were here when I'm dying, you get my stuff. Boy, do I get that now. So because it's, the feeling and who's really there for you. Ray says, I trust that even if it is in the hands of those with ill intention, that the divine will give us the ability as co-creators to manifest love and healing, a growth expansion through it. Change. I agree, Ray. That is so nice, Nellie. You're welcome, Project. My roommates are my family now. Yeah, keeping your heart open to joy. Well said. My wife said to me a few days ago when I was in a funk, it's like you only work for the negatives, only for the bad things happening. And it was true. I agree with you, Ray. And I don't have a wife, but to tell me that. But Spirit was kind of telling me that, the anticipation of today and what could or could not happen. It's like I realized that's why I didn't do a video over the weekend. I was like, no, I don't want to look at the negative. I don't want to see, I don't want to go there. I want to go outside and stay with nature. I want to stick with what I know will keep me grounded with the universe. The universe will give me the answers. So, but anyway, and here we are today. So it's been an hour and 33 seconds. Um, thank you for who you people are. I mean it. At least I hope you do. Because every day that I wake up and put my feet on the ground, my prayer starts right then. And after I pick my feet up off the ground for the day, I still close with a prayer. Because rattle my tree, shake my belief, nah. Because of whether or not I believe in this person or that person or a religion or anything, I know where my spirit lies. And my spirit lies with truth, honesty. It is the universal law to do no harm, which means hating people. There are some Christians out there like, and I've talked about these Southern ladies. They talk about, did you see Ethel today in church with that hat? Oh, bless her heart. She's been going through a bad time. I know. And did you see Joe with that suit? Oh, bless his heart. He's trying to fit in that old thing, and it's too. Anyway, so bless his heart, bless her heart. That's the Southern joke about, well, we can talk about them as long as we end the sentence with bless their heart. Well, they don't know any better. Bless their heart. So, uh, which there's, when you've ever been around these people, honestly, and listened to this little cackling of a group of women saying, bless her heart, and do it, it's funnier than shit. And you think, well, it's not really true. Oh, yes, it is. And for me, it's hilarious. But anyway, I still think about some of the stuff that I've seen and heard over the years. Absolutely amazing. Yes, Spirit was too, and to then hear it from her was immediate confirmation and brought many realizations. Yeah, keeping our heart open. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to share it openly with our enemy, but it does mean we need to keep our heart open despite our enemy. And despite what they do, when they were spraying the skies earlier and I'm shaking my fist going, you sons of bitches, I had to quit it right then because there would have been a litany of curse words, that go along with it. Hey, Ian, I had to grow up and go to my grandma's beauty shop and hear that junk. Yeah, Southern gossip, not for me. Yeah, it wasn't for me either, but as an anthropologist, the study of human behavior, if you will, it's just, you gotta laugh. Cause I don't know, you gotta laugh because they didn't really mean any harm, bless their hearts. But they were doing exactly what they shouldn't be doing, bless their hearts. Okay, I'm going to stop this mess. I really want to, I don't share too much. Yeah. But whether we share, our hearts with other people, we have to keep our hearts open for the joy now, that may not be associated with these folk, you know what I mean? But there is still joy in this world. There's still joy in this life. And when I was in prison for that year, I found joy in certain ways and different things, It was one of the things that kept me from going nutso. But so even in prison, you can find joy. And I've talked about that before. So, regardless of where we are, we still have to allow um, that angel part of us to still be open to the universe, you know. And there were some very nasty guards, and I was literally chained to a multiple murderer, and not a serial killer, but he shot two or three people. Anyway, I'm chained to this guy, and he's like, when we get out, if I tell you to run, you run. And I'm like, okay, I mean, this guy was like 6'6", and I'm 5'11" and a little bit, and he was like 260 pounds of pure muscle, And he's like, if I tell you to run, you run, or I'm gonna rip your arm off. And I was like, okay, I can run. Now, thank God I didn't have to, but that's the kind of people that I was, quote, hanging around with: murderers and rapists, baby rapers. They took care of them folks in jail, let me tell you. And they don't like rapists either, but there were a few of those, but mostly, there was crimes against, quote, humanity, like bad checks and public drunk, and, throwing a bottle through a window when they was drunk or something like that, or maybe getting in a bar fight or brawl or whatever. But anyway, yeah, the sky talks to me too. And made a video today of the sky, all coverage, so many layers, but talked about how it's okay, even though it's not. What will be, will be. It's all right. Yep. And Ray, to kind of sort of follow up with that, the shaman chief that talked to me so many years ago, he said, I pray that, he said, I know that there's evil in that when they spray it out. But he said, I'm praying that by the time it reaches the ground, Creator will take care of it and turn it into something. And so, I shake my fist a time or two, but where I used to cuss for hours and all day long about what they're doing to the skies, now it's a tiny little, you sons of it, and then I get off of it. I mean, that fast. I'm on another subject. But anyway, so y'all take care. Before it gets dark, I really do want to walk back to the woods, simply because I said I was. I might not go waiting. Thank you, Ray, for your thoughts and insights, and my gratitude to all of you. And we're all students right up to the end. I mean, as much as I might learn in this lifetime, when I get to the other side, I'm going to have all those other memories come back, and I'm going to go, son of a bitch. This, I can compare this round of experiences to previous places I've been, or reincarnations or experiences. So, it's going to be interesting in the other life to say, well, yeah, this was a piece of cake compared to the last one I was in. Just saying. So we don't ever know, but it'll be wonderful to find out when I get to the other side. Now, I plan on sticking around as long as they'll let me. So, because I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. I don't know where to give up. So, but anyway, thank you all for what you do. Okay. And I will always close with a prayer unless they shut me down ahead of time. I continue to thank you all, honestly. Keep sharing, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. Each and every day when I put my feet on the floor, and I mean this, I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, look that one up, past, present, and to come. All relations mean rocks, trees, plants, the earth, the universe. All of your relations, meaning what you're related to in this universe. So I continue to pray that you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings from the universe, along with all of your relations. And in that law of three, I continue to pray that each and every day, you folks are good, that you will continue to learn to accept and receive and to share that knowledge, the wisdom, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. The universe ain't done yet, and neither are we. So Let's keep the faith, everybody. And until next time from South Georgia, TTFN, ta for now. And may blessings be upon you all. And keep the faith, whatever that faith may be. Talk to you next time. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Project. Thank you, Mossy Man. And anybody else I may have missed, love and prayers. Keep the faith. Talk to you soon. Bye.